Hello everyone, my name's Amanda Silk and I'm a professional learning mentor here at Captiva Learning. Today I'm going to give you a tour of Onefile. Now Onefile is your online e-portfolio. It's where all of your work will be uploaded, assessed, you'll be able to see feedback. There's lots of other features as well. Now one of the best ways to get to know Onefile is just to have a play. Click on things, see where they take you, you'll soon get the hang of it. But what I'm going to do today is just take you through some of the key elements of Onefile just to get you started. After that, it's up to you. Have a play, have an explore. You can't break it, trust me, we've all tried and thought we might have done at one point or another. But if you ever get really stuck, just reach out to your PLM and they'll help you. Now I must point out that my portfolio is going to look a little bit different to yours. And the reason is that this is a practice account. And what you may also notice is in fact that the learner is me. When I go onto Onefile, I like to use the menu down the left-hand side of the page. And the first thing that I would always do when I come onto Onefile is click on Portfolio. When the portfolio page loads, the first thing you'll see is the information and options. And in here, you'll find your learning aims. Now, these are the different parts of the course that make up your apprenticeship. So in this first section, for example, you have the apprenticeship standards for the apprenticeship that you are doing. Again, yours may be called something different to mine, that's fine. What you'll then see is your current progress. So this tells you what percentage you have achieved of that particular learning aim. You'll then also have your target progress. So this will give you a rough idea of where you should be with that particular aim. If you're ever concerned about where your current progress is compared to your target progress, again, reach out to your PLM. They'll be able to explain to you why you're on that progress percentage, and they'll also be able to support you to get up towards that target. You'll see some other learning aims on here, such as English and Maths. Now, for all apprenticeships, it's a requirement that you have your level 2 English and Maths qualifications. Some of you may have already come to the apprenticeship with these qualifications, and what will happen is your PLM will upload your certificates onto Onefile for you. What will then happen is you will sign these off and it will instantly jump your current progress to 100%, which is very satisfying when all you've had to do is upload your certificates. For those of you that don't have your level 2 in English and Maths, don't worry, that's something that the NCE will support you to achieve as well. This bottom one says Gateway to Endpoint. These are things that your PLM will discuss with you throughout your time on the apprenticeship. Your Gateway meeting is your final sign-off meeting to confirm that all of your apprenticeship work has been completed. And your endpoint refers to your endpoint assessment, which is a bit like your final exam. Now these things won't happen until right at the end of your apprenticeship, which means your progress percentage here will stay at 0 right until the very end. That's nothing to worry about. Just under that, we have your overall progress percentage. Now this takes into account all of the percentages that we looked at previously and puts them into an average so you can see your overall progress. Again, if you were to click on there, it will give you a breakdown of all the different elements of the apprenticeship. Next that we have your workplace. So it should say whichever workplace you are currently at. And then it will have your off the job. And again, this tells you a percentage. So this is how much of off the job you have achieved so far. And we'll look at that in a little bit more detail later on. The next thing we're going to look at is TLAPs. You'll find the TLAPs here with a little light bulb in the box. Now TLAPs stands for Teaching, Learning and Assessment Plans. What you can see at the moment at the top here is I have 3 pending. So that means I need to go in there and have a look at what TLAPs are ready for me. If you click on the TLAPs page, it will bring you to your Teaching, Learning and Assessment Plans. Now within here, we can see that I currently have 3 different TLAPs. However, not all of them are for me, and I will know if there's something that I need to do or not by this last column here, where it says Teaching, Learning and Assessment Plan locked by. So at the moment, there are 2 which are locked by the learner, which is me, which means I can access them. At the moment, there is one of them which is locked by the assessor. This means I can go in and have a look, but I don't need to do anything with that one just yet. So what you would do to have a look at your Teaching, Learning and Assessment Plan, you scroll down the page, it will tell you if there are any tasks that have been set. It will give you an overview of the task and the date that it is due. As you can see here, I have 2 tasks to complete. We scroll down, it will have any attachments that you might need to complete those activities. And it will then tell you a plan of the engagement. So this is essentially your lesson plan. This tells you what it is that you're going to achieve and how you're going to achieve it. So do have a read through that to make sure you're happy with what that assessment will look like. After you've completed that piece of learning, there will then be a summary of engagement. This will give a summary of what happened during that engagement and the learning outcomes achieved. It will then tell you what's next. So for example, here, it was a coaching session that was observed. My next engagement is a witness testimony with my line manager. It will then tell you if there was any additional learning needs support given, an action plan of any next steps that may be needed, and you will also receive any feedback and comments from your PLM. If there are any issues arising that may have come out of the conversation, this is where they'll be noted as well. Now at the bottom, you'll see signatures, and you'll see that this bar is highlighted yellow, and this is the learner. So this is ready for me to sign. Now, because this is electronic, rather than you needing to sign, all you do is tick in this box here, go to the bottom and click accept. This is you saying that you accept this learning plan and you're prepared to do that piece of learning. Once you have accepted a TLAP, it will take you to your tasks list. The reason for this is because the tasks that were sat in that TLAP have now been released and added to my task list so that I can get on with doing that lovely learning. So the activities that were on that TLAP we just looked at have now been added to my task list. Now, if you're thinking, how do I get back to those TLAPs? Again, I would go back to Portfolio, scroll down until I find my light bulb. Now what you can see is now there are only 2 pending because I've accepted one of them. Again, one for me to do something with and one that currently is still with my assessor. To go back to the task list, go back to the menu on the left of the page, and here you can see tasks with a little clipboard. And what you'll notice is that this has now gone up to 4 because of those tasks we've just added to that list. So let's click on that. So here you can see the tasks that are ready for me to complete. It will tell you the date that they are set and the date that they are due. Now the reason this one is in red is because the due date has passed, meaning I really need to get on with this one. To complete a task, all you need to do is click on it. If you click on a task, the first thing that will come up is the task overview. It will tell you the instructions and it will attach any learning resources that you need. Scroll down, it will then tell you the criteria that have been attached to this assignment. Therefore, if you are successful in this assignment, you should achieve these learning outcomes. The evidence box is where you upload your evidence that you have achieved this particular task. What you would do is click on Add Attachment. So you click on Select Files, a box will pop up which will allow you to select the document that you would like to upload. This has uploaded. You can see it's been selected because it's in yellow and it has a little tick next to it. You would then simply click Attach. This will then take you back to the task page that you were on. Again, if we scroll down again, now when you look at the evidence box, what you will find is the piece of evidence that you have just uploaded. If you need to leave a note to your assessor, you can do in this box. Here, you then come to your timesheet. This is where you enter roughly how long it took you to complete that particular activity. To sign this, you just click on this box to confirm that you have signed. You can then either save and refresh. This will simply save where you're currently at on this page and refresh it. In order to submit this work to your assessor, you need to click Save and Quit. This will then send the work to your assessor to be assessed. Now at this point, it takes us to the learning activity / assessment. So these are all the learning activities and assessments that have been completed so far. At this point, it will show you that piece of work that we just submitted. You'll know if it's something that you need to do something with, or whether it's ready for your assessor, again by this column over here, action required by. So at the moment, this particular piece of work is with the assessor. It's ready for them to mark. If you ever need to find this page, again, a couple of different ways to do this. But if I was to go through Portfolio, I would then scroll down and I'm looking for Learning Activities/Assessment. This is next to the TLAPs page. It's just here. And as you can see, I have 3 in here. There's that piece of work I just uploaded. I can go in and double check that it was the right activity. And yes, my piece of evidence is there. I'm just waiting for my assessor to sign it off as complete. It may be that a piece of work is resubmitted to you. It may need some further evidence or some further detail added. If that's the case, it will be added back to the Learning Activities/Assessment box. So again, back to Portfolio, and come back here. If you have completed a piece of work, it will disappear from this list. If you want to go back to it, you just go up here where it says Show. So at the moment it's showing the work that is pending. That's because it's not yet been signed off by my assessor. If you click on it and click on Completed, you can then see the pieces of work that have been signed off by your assessor. Next, we're going to go back to Portfolio. We're going to look at the tasks that you need to complete. So back to our tasks over here. The other task that we needed to complete was a learning journal entry. If we click on that, it will take you to the learning journal entry page. So in here, first thing you need to do is write a title for your entry. It will then ask you to select a category. If it was one of the learning days you've attended with us, that's what you'll click on, but there are lots of other options. So maybe it's some reading or research that you did. You would then select the date that you completed that piece of learning. That could be today, or it could be a piece of learning that you've done previously that you haven't quite got around to entering yet. That's absolutely fine. You can backdate it. So maybe this is a piece of work I've completed last week. You then need to put the time that you started. So first of all, you start with the hours and then the minutes. It will then ask you if this is AM or PM. Please be careful of this one. Lots of people seem to forget to click it and claim that they were doing work at 1:20 in the morning, which I'm really hoping you're not doing. Now here, you'd probably expect if you entered your time started that the next box would be the time finished. Now be careful because it actually says duration, and this is the mistake that lots of people make, so don't worry. This is asking you how long roughly it took you to complete this particular piece of learning. So I'm going to type in here. You then need to select whether this is off the job or not. I'm claiming this is off the job, so I'm going to keep this as a tick. You then come to this box and write your reflection. If you're not sure what to include in your reflection, you can click on this little help down here. So it gives you a rough guide of how to structure your journal entry. So it asks you what you've learned from the activity, what sense you can make of it, how you're going to implement this into your job, and what impact it's going to have. If you start typing your journal entry, and then maybe something happens, you get called away, rather than deleting what you've done, what you can do is click Create down the bottom here. It will then save that journal entry. At a later date, if you then want to go back and continue it, what you would do is go down to the bottom right hand corner and click on the pencil, which will allow you to edit. Now I can go in and complete what I was writing. When writing your journal entries, you need to think about how it relates to the apprenticeship. And one way that you can do this is by looking at the criteria. So if you click on this down the bottom here, it will bring up the knowledge, skills, and behaviour criteria of your apprenticeship. So it might be that you've learned a piece of knowledge, you would look in the particular category that it would come under, and you can select which criteria it relates to. You don't have to do this, but it's a nice way to make sure that your learning relates to your apprenticeship. If you want to, you can also upload files. Maybe you've made some notes, maybe you took some photos. You can add those onto your journal entry as well. Once you've finished, you can then click Update. What you'll see is, if you scroll down, the various different journal entries that I have created. And again, if I wanted to go back and edit any of these, I'll just click on the pencil. Now, if you had made a mistake with either the time that you've entered or the duration, there is a way to edit that, and that is through the timesheet. You can find the timesheet by looking at the left-hand column again. Here we are, timesheets. This will bring you to off the job. Here you will see your contracted hours and the target amount of off the job hours you need to complete. It then shows you how many you've done so far and as a percentage. If you scroll down, this will show you which dates it has been filtered to. What you'll need to do is go back to whichever date you started your apprenticeship. This will make sure that you are then able to see all of your journal entries. It's broken down into the different categories that you have selected and shows you how many total hours you have logged. If you scroll down a bit further, it will show each of the entries you've put in. It tells you the category and the date. You can also see the start time and the end time. If you scroll to the right, what you'll also then see is an edit button. So if I was to go back to that entry that I entered earlier, at the moment it says that it was 1:20 in the afternoon. If that's not right, I can edit that and say, oops, my mistake, actually it was more like 1:30. I can change that time, I can change the category, change the duration, and then I can click Save. So if you want to change the content of your journal entry, you will need to actually go into the journal entry itself and edit it. If you just want to edit the time, then you're going to Timesheet. Now, the way that we accessed the Learning Journal earlier was through the Learning Journal task. If you don't have a task to complete a Learning Journal entry, but you've completed a lovely piece of learning and you want to reflect on it in your Learning Journal, again, you can access this through the menu on the left-hand side of the page. You enter the Learning Journal page. If you want to add a new entry, you just click where it says, click here. That will open up that page that we looked at a moment ago. One last thing I'd like to show you is the resources, again on the left-hand column. Here you'll find lots of different resources. Again, yours will look different to mine, but it will have things like the complaints policy and procedure, so do have a read of that. If all else fails and you're not sure where you are and what you need to go on, always go back to Portfolio. On Portfolio, there are lots of other features. It will have things like when your next review is, so you can see when that's been set with your PLM. But also in the middle of the page are these various tabs. So there's another way to access your Learning Journal and another way to enter Timesheet. Again, just find the way that works for you. If you look across these tabs, there are other pages that you may find useful, such as completing your scorecard or looking at your gap analysis. Gap analysis is a way of looking at which criteria have been achieved within your apprenticeship. So if you'd like to click on Show All and then click Apply, you'll then be able to see the knowledge, skills, and the behaviours of the apprenticeship. If you have any problems navigating Onefile, do reach out to your PLM. Remember, they're here to support you. It was all new to us once as well, but you'll soon get the hang of it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and good luck with your apprenticeship.